Hey everyone, and welcome back to the show that asks you to pull out your chairs, get out your TTRPG books, and join us at the table. Today we're going to be talking about two other ancestries that Paizo just released in their Lost Omens Ancestry book a little while ago. I think we're starting to get a little beyond the surface. We're getting into some other meaty, fun stuff. So can't wait to talk about that. But before we do, quick introduction, starting with, of course, as always, my man, Mr. Michael Powell. Tell them who you are and where we can find you on the sweet, sweet internet.
Well, I am Michael Powell, and you can find me all over the internet on my social medias, which is at Mr. Kapow. That's MRKAPAO. And how about you?
My name is PJ McGaw. You can find me everywhere on the internet at pj.mcgaw, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Come find me. Let's have a good time. But without further ado, let's get cracking on these ancestries. So when they released this book, the Lost Omens Ancestry guide, we've already covered a handful of some really incredible stuff. The sprites, the Strixes. We've talked about the why am I blanking? It was so many awesome Beastkin, and they've added more. It's the versatile heritages. Enough to that 5 times fast. That came out in the Advanced Player's Guide. So we're going to be covering two more, specifically the Fleshwarp and the Android, because these are going to be some fun, super cool ancestries, and we're also going to discuss not only different ways to build them, like build characters with them, but how you can use them in your world and how you can use them with your characters and have all this other fun stuff.
And also, if you're looking to find out more about them, and there's a lot of extra stuff, you could just check it out by purchasing the Pathfinder Lost Omens Ancestry Guide, which is available right now. I believe its retailing print edition is $34.99. If you're like me, I always go with the print edition if possible.
Yeah, it's like Stan the Man Lee once said, there's nothing better than having a real one in your hands versus a fake one on a computer screen. Now, that's not knocking computer screens. I love computer screens. But there's something extra special about having the tome with you. Well, let's get to the first one that we're going to be covering today is the Fleshwarp. This is a rare ancestry, so if you're a GM at your table and someone says they want to play a Fleshwarp, for the reasons that we're going to follow, really consider if this fits your world, if this fits the balance of the party, etc., etc. It's an aberration humanoid. That sounds dangerous. Let's continue. Fleshwarps are people whose forms are created or radically transformed by magic, alchemy, or unnatural energies. Their unorthodox appearance can make it difficult for them to find a place for themselves in the world. Magic and science that can warp bone and twist sinew are all too common in Galarian. Fleshwarps are those who have been permanently altered by such methods. Sometimes a sapient being created whole cloth from inanimate flesh, but often a victim unwillingly transformed by strange energies or sadistic creators. Their ancestry name, Fleshwarp, is an umbrella term, since on Galarian the actual flesh-warping process is more infamously well known than are alterations caused by uncontrolled magic technology or fringe science. Whether practiced by Thessalonian wizards, Nexian fleshcrafters, or the Drow of the Darklands, flesh warping is the craft of reshaping flesh and minds in vats of foul magical reagents. This has led some scholars of monsters to argue that only those beings created by traditional flesh warping should be considered flesh warps. Regardless of the source of their altered forms, flesh warps bear their new shape forever. Transformed beings living a wild and strange existence beyond what was possible for their original ancestry. Although fleshwarps are humanoid, no two look the same. One might possess limbs in unusual places and skin as smooth as glass, while another might have thick matting of spiny fur. Some might have animalistic features, like a boar snout, scales, or even cloven hooves. Others have entirely alien appearances, such as bulging eyes in the back of their heads. Some may have subtly uncanny features that differentiate them, such as glowing teeth, smoking eyes, or fingernails made of bone. The only commonly among them is their mismatched nature. Let your imagination run wild when creating this character. That's from the book. Go hog wild. If you want a character who is tough and hardy, can change their form as they grow, and can use their wholly unique appearance to inspire awe or fear in others, you should play Fleshwarp. And I cannot help but read this to you now and think of everything that's about to happen on Manglemoth's boat. You've already met one, a goblin Fleshwarp with the 6 eyes, the tail with an eyeball in it, and the 6 hands.
I also find this really interesting that this is, I believe, this is the first Aberration Ancestry in Pathfinder 2nd edition, right?
You know what? I believe this is solely new to Pathfinder 2. In Pathfinder 1, I don't believe there was a Fleshwarp. And if I'm wrong, please, someone come to the chat and correct me.
Yeah. And I love the fact that it's, you know what? I think it's public domain at this time, so we can actually use the name. This is Frankenstein's monster, not Frankenstein. Frankenstein's monster.
The real monster was the doctor all along. You know, but it's weird because like it is and it isn't. Like that's what I think is interesting is that because obviously if they're defined solely as Frankenstein's monster, which by the way is an awesome connection, but then you're limited. What's crazy about this is they're literally saying, "Go hog wild." Their backstory, the reason for it being, but the reason why it's rare, and maybe the feats and the details will tell us why mechanically it's rare, but it seems more thematically it's rare because there is no family lineage. This is some poor unfortunate soul who is twisted as part of their backstory. So it's hard to run into these.
I just thought of something. This ancestry basically plays alongside 2 archetypes right now that's released. The Golem Crafter and the Oozomancer, I think it's called.
The Oozomancer. Well, you know what's funny is that like those could totally work, but like those, I feel like those are things innate to the person. Now these people were just forced to be this way, but you could still do a really fun thing whereby, as a Golem Crafter or an Oozomancer, you're trying to study how to build and create and correct forms as a way of trying to create a new one for yourself or to correct your current one. So there is still a really cool story that tells.
Yeah. I'm just right now looking up. I just want to make sure I'm no, it's not Oozomancer, Oozmorph.
Oozmorph, okay.
Yeah. And we've talked about Golem Crafters in one of our previous videos before.
I remember that there's some really cool stuff that Golem Crafters could do.
Yeah. But anyway, let's get down to the crunchy bits now with the mechanics. Hit points start at 10, size, medium, speed, 25 speed. Ability boost is Constitution and a free boost. Languages, common and additional languages, equal to your intelligence modifier. If positive, you could choose from anything from Draconic, Dwarven, Elven, Goblin, etc. And then you also get, as most of these, well, I want to say non-human races, ancestries, low light vision. You can see in dim light as though it was bright light, and you ignore the concealed condition due to dim light. And also, this is a unique little feature for the Fleshwarps. It's called Unusual Anonymity. Your autonomy. Your unorthodox body resists physical afflictions meant for other creatures. You gain a +1 circumstance bonus to saves against diseases and poisons, which tells me they're pretty hardy. They could take a hit. They could stand being poisoned and, you know, all that stuff, because honestly, once you get all that done to you, it would stand to make sense that you're a little tougher than usual.
Yeah, this ancestry is extremely tough. I don't want to pigeonhole them and say they make great tanks, because that would then make people think, oh, well, if I'm going to use this ancestry, I should probably only use it for tanky classes. And you can use this for anything. But the fact that you start off with 10 HP, which I think only dwarves and orcs start off with 10 HP, that
so.
no one else Everyone else is an 8 or a 6. I think orcs can later get a feat that make their hit die start their HP starting at 12, so it's a different story altogether. But digressing, 10 HP, free boost to Constitution, and a free other boost, which I think in theory you could probably stack. And they also get to speak Aklo. Aklo, which is the language of abominations. They can speak to a Tarask if they want to. I mean, the Tarask wouldn't be able to offer much back in conversation, but so this is a very, very strong ancestry out the gate, especially for having bonuses to poisons and diseases forever.
Yeah, you could take a hit, and yeah, you're pretty hardy. But let's jump forward and talk about the heritages, because there's, I believe, there are 4 of them, and they pretty much play on, kind of want to say, Frankenstein's monster tropes, you know. Do you want to kick things off, PJ?
Sure. The created Fleshwarp. You were created through occult or alchemical processes, such as being grown in a vat, or stitched together from the body parts of other creatures by a scientist in Ustalav. I love that. Your manufactured body is durable. You don't need to eat, and you can't starve. You get a +2 bonus to saving throws against diseases. I believe that's cumulative, so that would be a +3, maybe. Regardless, this is the F you pay me skill. You're traveling across the road. Roll to for your hunger and starvation. Nope, I can't starve. F you pay me. I don't have to worry about it.
PJ, I just realized something. This is pretty much Dean and Hank Venture, the clone bats.
True. Although I think later seasons they got rid of the clone vats. Now it's only the 2 Hank and Dean.
Yeah, they're the last 2, but originally, they were clones, grown in vats.
Yep.
And I love dying.
And I love that in the show. Well, you know what? We're not here to talk about Venture Time. I'm sorry, not Venture Brothers. Really fast though, Grebo Lightbrush. He said, this is back to the thing about digital versus paper. That sounded filthy law. It's better to have a real one in your hands than a fake one on your screen. What you're tapping into is the quote that I was quoting by Stan the Man Lee was in reference to something, shall we say, inappropriate for the first 10 minutes of show. Yeah, so you're not wrong.
But anyway, the next heritage we have up is called Mutated Fleshwarp. Transformed by uncontrolled magic, you originated in the Mana race or another region similarly devastated by uncontrolled magic. Due to your toughened or redundant organs, the DC for your checks to recover from persistent bleed damage is 10 instead of 15, and it's reduced to 5 instead of 10 if you have particularly effective assistance recovering from the persistent damage.
That's pretty good. Yeah. I mean, especially since at level 1, you now have this, armor against persistent bleed.
Yeah, also, right now I'm racking my brain. I don't think any other ancestries have... There's just very little you have to protect yourself from persistent bleed damage.
That is very true. I think most times you'd get, a resistance against a type of damage, but that's about it. Well, let's go with the Shape-Wrought Fleshwarp. A victim of flesh warping, you likely bear loose flesh, bony spurs, or features of inhuman creatures sprouting from your skin. You have nevertheless turned the psychic toll of your transformation into a strength. You gain resistance to mental damage equal to half your level minimum 1. A straight-up mental resistance. Damn.
Yeah. Also, the fact that it says you bear bony spurs, it's just, in my mind, the comic book nerd in me, Morrow from X-Men.
I was thinking that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
You could also go with Dakin, who didn't get the adamantium.
Yeah. Or, honestly, I guess you could kind of Wolverine, but that's just bone claws. He doesn't really have the spurs. Oh, or Doomsday.
Yes. Oh my god, a flesh warp is Doomsday. Doomsday is a flesh warp, confirmed.
Oh my god. I'm just thinking Doomsday and Pathfinder, the devastation it could cause.
I feel like Doomsday and Pathfinder is a Tarrasque that's extremely small by comparison. So like it would be a medium-sized Tarrasque.
But the fact that I don't know about you, but I do not want to have to deal with Doomsday in Edge of Legend. Do not
Note
chat.
to self.
We are not making Doomsday in Edge of Legend.
Note to self, PJ. Put Doomsday in Edge of Legend.
No. Anyway, moving on, we have the technological flesh warp. Your transformation is due to manipulation by advanced technology like that found in Numeria. Your emotions are dulled and hard to influence. When you roll a success on a saving throw against emotion effect, you get a critical success instead. So, a fleshy data from Star Trek Next Generation, I guess.
A little bit. And I want to compare this later when we're done because we're also talking about the Android, which is another ancestry. And the Android, really excited to see how fantasy it gets because the Ahsoki, the Android, and a few others, they're definitely bridging a gap between Pathfinder 2nd Edition and Starfinder. And if you played Starfinder, it's a really interesting twist and it's got a lot of really cool things. So it makes a good bridge.
Yeah, it's also, I want to say, fantasy moving more towards sci-fi.
Yeah, and I'm really curious how this could work because, like, right now it looks to me like the technological one could work in super science areas like New Jack City or Mangelmaw's boat, whatever from the show. But this is also a really good opportunity for you to kind of define and redefine the line between fantasy and science fiction.
And I also want to point out, because this is a full ancestry, you could add the versatile heritage. You could be a flesh warp beastkin, flesh warp changeling, Dampier, Dustwalker, half elf, what have you.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Yes, this is a full primary ancestry, so you can absolutely tack on some amazing and outlandish things. Could you imagine I'm just putting out there, I mean, it'd be a little weird, but I think you can make it work, a half-elf flesh warp? Half-orc flesh warp?
Yeah. This, like I said, the flesh warp, pardon the pun, very versatile.
All right, so next up we're going to get to the feats. So there's basically the feats run the gamut from like level 1 to 17. In this case, this one's going to end at 13. But these, oh god, the heritage makes such an amazing tank. You have the anti-rogue, you have the anti-bard, you have the anti-poisoner and diseaser, the ones fighting all the rats and whatnot. So now let's get into different ways you can build this class.
Really quick, I just thought of something. PJ, you played Magic the Gathering way back in the day, right?
Oh, very poorly, but I did.
Do you remember a card called Living Wall?
Yes! Oh, I love that card!
The Flesh Warp is basically your living wall.
Every time I see, like, Diablo 3, when the voodoo priest summons a wall of flesh and skeletons, I'm like, you stole that, and I'm proud of you.
Anyway, do you want to kick off the feats?
Absolutely. Let's get down to it. Aberration Kinship. Your mind resonates with the inscrutable thought process that inhuman aberrants use to communicate. You can cast Mind Link. Wow. You can cast Mind Link as an innate occult spell once per day, but you can only target aberrations. And there's the balance. So this, you could take this at level 1. There's going to be a few more level 1s coming out the gate. And Mind Link is basically a telepathic spell to communicate with people. And anytime you can speak telepathically, do it. It's free conversation that the GM can't use against you.
I kind of want to say this is the aberration version of Speak with Animals.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Now here's the one, let's be honest. This is a really cool, fun feat. But the likelihood of you at level 1 running into an aberrant should be really low. Aberrants, because of their unusual anatomy and probably powered by Cthulhu and the moon, they're tough to kill.
And I kind of want to say it's also a very situational ability, because I played in games where we've never run into an aberration at all. And, you know.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to, as a GM, to focus on creating the most flexible monster manual when you have a story to tell and that story has a focus. So unless you're like, all right, it's time for everyone to kill Cthulhu, and then you'll start getting more.
Yeah. Maynard posted, I always have a problem with once a days, no matter how good they are. Like too good to use syndrome, but also fear of missing out. Lot of hyphenates.
A lot of hyphenates. Yeah, I
Hyphenates.
agree. I definitely see where you're coming from, Maynard, because I agree. It's hard to use one a day spells or spell like abilities because you're like, when's the right time? I can only ever use this once,
Hmm.
and that does make a gamble. But I feel like the good thing about them is because they're not relegated to spell slots. Get used to burning them, and if you need them
Hmm.
later, because here's the thing: leaving a spell on the table, leaving a spell at the table and on the table is a waste of a spell, right?
Yeah.
That's a whole power you've been given that you cannot use. It is better to use it. Some debate, I'm sure, on this. It is better to use it incorrectly than to never use it at all.
Yep.
So it's going to be weird and terrifying, especially when sometimes as gamers, we are so focused on doing the right thing for the game
Yeah.
that we don't
It's
do the right thing for us.
I call it hoarding syndrome because you're always hoarding things like in video games, hoarding magic items, potions. Like I'm gonna save it, I'm gonna save it, and honestly, even when you beat the game, you haven't used it at all. Trust me, I have done that in so many Final Fantasy games.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, we've all been there. Well, here's a throwback to PlayStation 1 time. You're on disc 5. You have 99 of every potion and elixir, and you never use it because you just rely on your healer, right? So you're like,
Yeah,
but I need these. No, you don't. What sparks joy? Mario Kondo those potions out of your backpack, my dude.
exactly. Next up, we have Deep Vision. It's a level 1 feat, and basically, your vision is suited for night or the underground. You gain Dark Vision. I mean,
Yeah.
that's always pretty useful.
Yeah, and usually it's a good indication when the ancestry comes in with like low light vision. There's always a solid bet they're going to give you dark vision as your first
Yeah.
level feat. Next up, living weapon. Oh, that sounds so cool. All right, you've learned to use part of your form as a weapon. When you select this feat, you gain claws for an unarmed attack that deal 1d4 slashing damage, agile and finesse traits, a horn, jaws, or a tusk unarmed attack that deals 1d6 piercing damage and has a versatile slashing trait, or a tail unarmed attack that deals 1d6 bludgeoning damage and has the backswing trait. So when you swing and miss and you attack again, you get a bonus to hit. Each of these unarmed attacks is in the brawling weapon group. These features are mutable. You can select this feat at any level, and you can retrain into it or out of it uh, as you continue to grow. So usually, like when there's a natural weapon, it is built into your body. Like, so if you choose to go for it, like let's say you're Strix and you choose claws, and you got these 1d4 slashing claws. You choose that feat, you cannot remove it.
Hmm.
Makes sense, it's your DNA. But because flesh warpers are this, just this amalgamation of shifting DNA protein strands, they can choose at level 1 to just have this natural weapon, a tail, a weapon, and then later get rid of it or
Yeah.
change it to something else.
Yeah. They're like living silly putties.
Yeah, a little less fluidity, but like it's possible.
Yeah, it's also this ability is great if you're, say, a barbarian, or you have the martial artist archetype, and I think you can even get some use out of it as a monk. But I think the monk's ability right out the gate as a class trumps this.
I mean, I think that's kind of the thing you have to remember as a monk is that they get
Hmm.
1d6 damage. So unless your natural weapon is equal to that, um,
Yeah.
but hey, if you're not a monk, it never hurts to always be armed. If you are a
Hmm.
rogue and you don't have a dagger on you, living weapon is perfect for a rogue.
Maynard posted makes the Clay Fighters theme song get stuck in my head.
Oh my God, Clay Fighters, that's a throwback.
Yeah.
Um, I was going to say something. Dark Vision is absolutely a necessity, Maynard. Okay, so we did living weapon. Next up, I believe on my list is Startling Appearance. Is that the
Yes.
same for you?
Yes. Starting appearance is a level 1 feat. You are trained in intimidation or another skill of your choice if you're already trained in intimidation, and gain the intimidating glare skill feat as a bonus. This is actually pretty good because you get a free skill and also intimidating glare. You don't even have to say anything. I got that as when we played in Ra's raid party, and I was just mad dogging people with a glare. It was pretty awesome.
It's a great ability, and it's an early level feat I think you can get. I think when I
Yeah,
made Larry and Voss's character sheet, he has it too.
yeah, skill and a feat. That's a good. It's always good to get.
Amazing. All right, so like a lot of classes, or I'm sorry, a lot of ancestries we went over, they have Fey influence. So we're gonna brush over that very carefully, and I'm gonna continue. But Fey influence basically gives you access to primal magic like a druid would. You get like 1 or 2 spell-like spells a day, or spell-like ability a day. So next level 5, thinned ridges. The ridges and flaps of your skin steer you through water. You gain a swim speed of 15 feet. So you can basically become a fish person.
I kind of want to say, oh God, what was it? The merman from Darkstalkers. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, Reiko?
I
What
think
is that?
so.
Oh, sorry.
It's been ages, but anyway,
It has been.
honestly, if you're playing an aquatic campaign or a pirate themed campaign, ooh, the some of the characters from on Davy Jones' ship in Pirates of the Caribbean.
You know what? That works very well lore-wise too. So if
Yeah.
you're playing a pirate campaign and you are a GM or a player and you want to talk about being a human being that was horribly mutated by like the ghost of Davy Jones or the Kraken, you can make a flesh warp based upon being a pirate at sea, you know, and you can start having swim speeds and like a claw weapon, crab claw.
Ooh, yeah, be a crab. Oh, yeah, be a crab. Mutated crab. Dude, you could be a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
You could, I mean, I would say if you're gonna be a Ninja Turtle, you should get like either natural AC or natural hardness because of the shell, but that's not an ability yet. Hopefully, it will be soon.
Okay, next up we have something called Gaping Flesh. This is a level 5 feat. Frequency once per day, and the trigger is a creature you are aware of damages you with a melee strike. Your wound yawns open, appalling your attacker. The attacker must succeed at a Fortitude saving throw against your class DC or spell DC, whichever is higher, or become sickened 1, sickened 2 on a critical failure. It can't recover from the sickened condition while it's adjacent to you.
Oh, that's disgusting.
Yeah, you're basically what is it, a garbage pail kid.
Yeah, like what is it? There was a scene in a movie I want to say where like two like little kids are playing, and then one of them falls down and gets hurt, and they're bleeding, and the other kid's like ew, and they start chasing the other kid around with their wound. That's what this horrible thing is.
Yeah.
Next up, Mutate Weapon. This is a part of the feat tree that starts with the living weapon. So you select one unarmed attack that you got from living weapon previously at level 1. The damage die for that attack increases by 1 step until the end of your turn. Oh, because it's 1 action to do this ability. Sorry, I totally went right to the details, forgot the mechanics. So 1 action, your natural weapon that you got from level 1 is now 1 dice more. In addition, choose to either have the attack gain a reach of 10 feet until the end of your turn, or a +1 bonus to attack rolls with a chosen unarmed attack. Oh my, okay. Holy crap. Oh, that's good. So let's say you take one of the D6 variants, your jaws or your tail, right? At level 5, you take this feat for the cost of 1 of your 3 actions around. That weapon can either be 10 feet longer or get +1 to hit, depending on what you got to do. But no matter what, it's going to be double the, well, not double, it's going to be 1 more weapon die stacked on. That could be 2d6 +4 with a 10-foot reach, 2d6 +4
Ooh,
with a
yeah.
+1 to hit, and because it's an unarmed attack, I have a feeling that the hand wraps of Mighty Blows, the ones that monks use to make their hands do more damage, pretty sure that'll go with this.
Ooh, imagine a what is it? A Fleshwarp barbarian animal instinct with this.
Oh my god. Well, that could be interesting because there's a lot of different like weapons you could take from different animals. I think this would actually be better as a fighter
Mm,
because
okay.
you're going to be doing a decent amount of damage, and then you're just stacking more bonuses on top
Yeah.
of that.
Well, I'm also saying barbarian mainly for the fact that as a tank and basically HP tank built on top of the Fleshwarp's already impressive constitution and hit points. That's pretty beefy right there. That's what we call a beefy boy.
That's a beefy boy, especially with the resistance they get later on.
Yeah.
You're right.
Literally beef. Literal beef.
Actual meat flesh. Yes.
Yeah. We have Maynard in chat saying, posted, I was thinking more like Cronenberg monsters. Michael went with TMNT. Yes, I did. But you know what? I could go with Cronenberg monsters and go with the movie Society. Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah. If you're eating or gonna be eating, do not look that up. Look that up after you've eaten. Just saying. Just saying.
Definitely go easy on yourself and don't do that.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on, we have another level 5 feat called Powerful Guts.
Powerful
Your-
guts.
Your stomach is particularly durable. When you succeed at a fortitude save to reduce your sicken value, you reduce it by 2 or by 3 on a critical success.
Nice.
Not
This
too bad.
is-
Like, it's once again, it's
Yeah.
you're getting bonuses on that that really impressive constitution you already have.
Yeah, and it seems like it's creating a very interesting build where this ancestry, and this isn't even talking about the classes this ancestry can play, so fighter or a barbarian or a wizard or whatever your choice is. It sounds like this ancestry is very good at tanking sickness. Like you are so good at resisting sicknesses, diseases, and poisons. Like if you're fighting some undead abomination or some disease-ridden rat pile, like if that's your campaign, you're gonna have a massive bonus for like fighting this
Yeah.
campaign.
Ooh, I just thought of something. This would be a really interesting build. Like, even roleplay wise, Fleshwarp Alchemist with the Poisoner archetype, where you could actually. The Fleshwarp could actually create the poison within their own body to use. And they're already
That-
immune to it because it is their own bodily fluids.
True, very, very true. That could be a lot of fun to play with. And you can even take the archetype for more poisons
Yeah.
stuff. Next up, Uncanny Awareness. You have a keen sense of movement around you. You gain motion sense as an imprecise sense out to 30 feet. Motion sense allows you to detect nearby motion through vibration and air movement. So this is kind of cool. This is effectively a blind sense. You don't have to like see them to know exactly where they're going. So if they're like invisible, for example, you can basically see where they're going still. It's not a true sight, but it helps.
This is basically Graboids from Tremors.
Yeah. And the fact that you get this sense, now granted it's level 5, but still the fact that you get this sense is amazing.
Yeah. Next up, we are at the level 9 feats with Captivating Curiosity. You can snare the attentions of onlookers with your unique appearance. You can cast Enthrall as a 3rd level occult innate spell once per day. I like to call this the Elephant Man ability. I am not a monster, I am a man!
Exactly. And it's not a bad spell. The fact that you can cast this once a day is pretty good. I like it. I'm curious to see what the other level 9 is. Coating of slime. Oh boy. An acidic ooze coats your limbs. You're unarmed. Oh my god. So if you like that unarmed damage we've been talking about already at this point, you could be doing double the dice. Well, double's a strong word. 1 extra dice damage, reach, and the whole shebang. Coating of slime at level 9. Your unarmed attacks deal an additional 1d4 persistent acid damage on a crit. So you're doing all the dice damage in the world, plus they're now taking 1d4 persistent acid damage until they either roll it off or they don't, and they just die.
This is honestly perfect for that Oozemorph archetype too.
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
Yeah. All right, next level 9 feat is called Eerie Compression. Your limbs and even your torso can collapse in on themselves, allowing you to fit through tight spaces as though you were a small creature. You can move at full speed while squeezing.
This is
pretty
you know what you're
interesting.
gonna say, Michael?
I was going to say, once again, another comic book character comes to mind, Ragdoll from DC Comics.
Yes. Oh, that guy. They made him so creepy in The Flash.
Mm-hmm.
But what I think is interesting about Eerie Compression is that I think there are rogue bonuses that you can get to moving and squeezing, mostly in cities, but I think in general. So this is really nice. It could work very, very well with a rogue build, especially if you want a rogue that can kind of handle more beatings than most rogues can at that level.
Or a rogue with a Fleshwarp rogue with acrobatics archetype.
True. Or even a Fleshwarp rogue that doesn't want to carry knives on them because it's obvious. You know, you search a Fleshwarp for weapons, and it's these hands. Catch these hands.
Ooh, because you have that high constitution, this actually helps you with... you don't necessarily have to be a grapple barbarian. You can be a grapple... or, a grapple monk or a grapple rogue with no worries, honestly.
Yeah. Speaking of, this next one, Gripping Limbs, it's another level 9 feat that you get to choose from, is also terrific for rogues. Gripping Limbs basically gives you a climb speed of 15 feet. Now, if you're dealing with a GM who's very gracious and they go, yeah, you know what, give me an acrobatics check, you can, depending on how well you do the acrobatics check to, like, climb, I'll give you different bonuses. But this is just straight up, when I decide to climb, unless it's, like, treacherous or whatever, I'm just going to move 15 feet where everyone else is not going to be able to move that fast at all. Yeah. And rogues like their parkour.
Exactly. Oh, we got Maynard in chat posted Plastic Man and also Tombs from the X-Files.
Yeah, he was that creepy dude whose like fingers could kind of grow and stretch, right?
Yeah. Ooh, those are... Here at the table, it's throwbacks and references upon references at this point.
Look, it's all just memes and Google searches. We're all just having a good time.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next up, Slip the Grasp. I believe that's yours. Yeah.
Yes, it is. It's I also believe this is our last level 9 feat. Slip the Grasp is a 1 action ability, and the requirements are you are grabbed, immobilized, or restrained. You have some feature that allows you to quickly evade effects that restrain you. Attempt a check to escape. If you succeed, you can stride, step, or make a strike with a melee unarmed attack targeting the creature you escape from. If you fail, you instead attempt to escape a second time. You increase your multiple attack penalty as appropriate for actions you took, but only after completing both actions. This, once again, a great ability to stack on top of that Fleshwarp rogue acrobat.
Yeah, what I love about this is that for 1 action, look how much economy is in this ability. For 1 action, you are going to make your escape check like you would normally, I think, with your action. But on top of making your escape check, if you succeed, you can move either 1 step, your full movement, whatever, and then make an attack. Or make an attack. Either way, the fact of the matter is you're getting out and you're getting away to safety, or you're getting out and you're attacking. Now, probably not sneak attacking because they're no longer grappled and flat-footed, but you get to do 2 amazing things for the price of 1, and that's always great for 1 action cost, by the way.
Yeah. All right, I believe the next one is yours.
Sure thing. Maynard in the chat just saying we're having a good time until PJ dabbed. It's not. Look, when PJ dabs, it's not a dab; it's a dip. Because I don't actually commit. I just kind of like go half the way. All right, next up. Now we're on the 13, the last 2 for this heritage. Augment senses. 1 action cost. This feat to do costs 1 action. You open vestigial eyes, unfurl tympanic flaps of skin, or otherwise enhance your senses. Until the start of your next turn, you gain the following benefits. You can't be flanked. When you seek creatures, you can scan a 60-foot cone or a 30-foot burst around you instead of the normal area. When you seek for hidden objects, you can search a 15-foot square instead of the normal area. Basically, for 1 action cost, your senses to do anything expand. Or if you're fighting rogues, again, you can be the rogue killer. They cannot flat-foot you. So a lot of their tactic is out the window, right? No matter what. Surrounded, sneak attack, stealth, you cannot be flat-footed.
Yeah.
So the Fleshwarps are great rogue killers if you want to make the anti-rogue.
All right. Now we are on to, I believe, our last feat here for the Fleshwarp at level 13, called Spew Tentacles. You can open your mouth to an immense size and spew forth an impossibly large field of tentacles. You can cast Black Tentacles once per day as an innate occult spell, though when you do, you spew them from your mouth out of the appropriate range, where they take root and begin grappling creatures as usual. The tentacles recognize you as part of them and don't attempt to grapple you, even if you are in the area.
So
Yeah, I could make a lot of jokes right now, but I'm not gonna because it's way too easy.
We're just gonna let that one go. But I will say that this is terrifying and awesome. This spell basically lets you create a 20-foot burst out of your face, and you instantly grapple any target within that area, if with a Fortitude save, and they take 3d6 bludgeoning damage. And you're grappling my dudes. You're grappling so many people with your mouth fingers. It's insane. This is an insane ability.
Ew, mouth fingers.
You're welcome. Hey, look, these things are abominations with feelings, so
but I will say
it
is certainly a visual. It's a visual that kind of stays on you now.
This is why I'm the GM. I'm a wordsmith. I paint portraits with my terrible words.
Would you say this would be a ability that's that could be found in a certain town called Daltonshire?
Oh, they invented it. You kidding me? Oh my god. The fact I love this class because the Spew Tentacles ability is a 5th level spell that you can now cast for free. So it doesn't matter if you're a rogue, a barbarian, a fighter, or if you're a druid, a bard, sorcerer, wizard, have another spell at your disposal. Free magic is always good magic. And the fact that you can crowd control and still deal damage up to 20 people is bonkers. Now, granted, you got to be level 13 to get this feat, but if you ask me, absolutely worth it. My God.
Let's see. All right, that's pretty much it for the Fleshwarp. Really quick, PJ, does the Fleshwarps have a place in Edge of Legend, our home game?
Very good question. So if you are definitely using this ancestry, and I want to say this first, think about how this could work in your world. Now, they're rare for a reason because there's no genealogy, there's no nation where they all came up from. So that being said, Fleshwarps are more a story of a person and less a group of people. But they do exist in Edge of Legend. In fact, we saw that a little bit in last episode when you guys went to Mangelmaw's boat. Mangelmaw is this evil scientist that works for the big bad evil guy of this campaign. He's been mutating some of his work staff, as you saw.
Yeah, and also I just thought of something. It would be kind of cool if we kind of see a kind of either a traveling sideshow or carnival of honestly Fleshwarps who uses that as a cover for their abilities.
Absolutely. I mean, you could use it however you want to, because again, they're not like like for example, like you know, all the dwarves live in Bryx, all the topside dwarves in Adelphon Prime live in Bryx, but there's no home for all the Fleshwarps. Now, you as a GM, you can absolutely make a town or a city where all the Fleshwarps go for asylum, and that's a really cool storyline.
Mhm.
But it's not, you know, it's not canon. It'd be a fun
Yeah.
thing that you get to build.
Like I'm basically imagining what is it, American Horror Story, where the one where they're all in a carnival.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take a few minutes because I'm not sure, but I feel like my oven is still on. I made breakfast a little while ago and I thought I turned it off, but it smells weird. So we're gonna get to the Android. Give me like a few seconds. I'll be right
No
back.
worries, no worries. Let's see. But yeah, it's ooh, I don't know about you, chap, but I would love to play a Flesh Warp. That it would be. Ooh, I'm getting ideas now, especially like that idea that I had where a Flesh Warp alchemist poisoner who basically creates the poison within their own bodies and then uses it. Like, kind of like, I don't know, maybe they have a thing where their blood is acidic, that the poison is literally their blood, or stomach bile, or even spit. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Welcome
Sorry about
back,
that. Had to
PJ.
make sure I wasn't gonna die. Looks like I'm
No
okay.
worries. In chat, we have Maynard, who posted, depends on how well known the reality of Flesh Warped as people are. All freak shows would be suspect at that point if Flesh Warped had a reason to hide themselves. And
You
also,
may
one step closer to clayface monsters, creatures.
absolutely, especially with the weapon build and looking at the weapon build, I think that is an awesome build, especially for rogues and especially for wizards that need backup. So I will say this: it really depends on you as a GM, because remember the thing about this ancestry is that there's no unifying like
Yeah.
history. So they're one-offs,
Mm-hmm.
constantly spurning from plot, you know. And if you have it so that maybe some evil mad scientist just did this
Mm-hmm.
to a legion of people, eventually that's going to get out. But
Yeah.
if it's like one in every 5,000 people per continent or city is a flesh warp, it's gonna be hidden a lot better.
I just thought of something else really quick. With the flesh warps and some of the archetypes already that has already been released, you could essentially play Pathfinder Batman because we already have the vigilante archetype. Now we have the flesh warp, which is basically Clayface.
True. True.
Yeah, like Pathfinder Gotham City. So basically, a Batman in a sword and sorcery world.
Yeah,
That would
you'd
be
have to
really
call it.
cool.
You have to call it something fantastic. You could call it like I don't
Batfinder.
know, the bad finder, but like the town they're in is like Gosha or like Arkamia or Arkamane, and then you know I am the vigilante. I am where Batman. I don't know. I have no ideas.
Gothia City.
Yeah, Gotha could be just
Yeah.
Gotha. Goethia.
Oh, Lady Arturel has a question. Would the question of the flesh warp characters being accepted depend on world building?
Very much so. Again, like that's what's interesting about this ancestry and why I think very heavily this is a rare ancestry
Mm-hmm.
because it begs a lot of questions. Like Maynard was asking earlier. If you want to build a world where flesh warps are known, and then you want to build within that the idea that
Yeah,
they are accepted or not, that is something that you have to plan for as a GM. If those are
exactly.
not questions you were ever going to ask, then you have to kind of accept that these are just one-offs that no one knows about, and it's just
Yeah.
kind of a weird thing.
I mean, honestly, it could be they could be like the Morlocks from X-Men, or really quick, Lady Arturel posted also. It would be interesting to see a world in which they're not feared or hated, but sort of accepted for their skills. Yeah, that could definitely be something. There's
Hmm.
something stuff there. And let's see. Maynard posted, surely, yeah. There'll have to be a society where maybe people were so empathic that they assumed that flesh warp were no more likely to lie than any other kind of person, even if they were more capable of doing it. That or a society that has somehow evolved past the point of falsehood and deceptions, maybe a nationwide zone of truth. it'd be a neat concept. Yeah.
Yeah, especially the nationwide zone of truth. Now, I'll say this: we live in a, well, not we, but most fantasy lives in a world that does beg a lot of disbelief. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you live in a world where just because of random DNA strands, your magic is now filled with the I'm sorry, your blood is now filled with the magic of dragons, aberrants, and all kinds of things. And you have whole groups of people that can fly naturally, or people who are clearly visible that have demons in them. So
Yeah.
there is a level of communal understanding that has to go forward. And if it doesn't exist, then you have to make sure you define how it doesn't, so that your players can role play in that environment. So the
Mm-hmm.
flesh warp is very interesting. But speaking of kind of moral altruism and gray, let's go to the next ancestry, the android.
Yep. The Android is also a rare ancestry, so check with your GM first before deciding to play one. Um, they have the Android and humanoid archetypes, and let's see, technological wonders from another world. Androids have synthetic bodies and living souls. Their dual nature makes them quick thinking and calm under pressure, but comfortable in stillness and solitude. So yeah, really quickly, androids tend to be logical introverts, rational and contemplative, insatiably curious with an urge to understand themselves and the world around them. Androids place a great value on intellectual pursuits. They have difficulty interpreting and expressing emotions both in themselves and others, which makes them distant and uncaring. While androids can forge emotional bonds, they find it more difficult to connect with non-androids. If you want if you want a character that's a synthetic foreigner in a fantastic world, forced to learn the nuances of reality and society through the powers of observation and logic alone, you should play an android. And yeah, first thing that honestly pops in my head is Data from Star Trek: The Next Generation. But if you want to go with a more fantasy type character for Android, if you're familiar with Magic the Gathering lore, Karn,
Mm.
the basically the golem that Urza created with Living Soul.
Yeah, it's really weird. And I'm glad you said data, because I was thinking it the whole time. But it's also weird when you look at the artwork for them, because in one panel you have a character that is clearly meant for Starfinder. They have
Mm-hmm.
very far future clothes. They have a laser pistol, very much Starfinder. But then underneath it you have the Pathfinder variant where they're wearing leathers and furs and all this kind of armor like a barbarian might wear. But what's odd about the artwork, and it's beautiful too, is that while they look like a barbarian, they have those little motherboard streaks going through their
Yeah.
skin and their eyes are glowy. I would caution very much anyone who wants to play an android, and the GMs that allow it, mute those hyper tech tones as much as possible, because you're going to get a weird kind of what's what I'm looking for, disjoint and
Disconnect.
yeah, a bit of a disconnect. Like, for example, in Final Fantasy games, this is a great example. In Final Fantasy games, it is 97% fantasy tropes.
Mm-hmm.
And then all the effing sudden, it is 3% super space technology.
Yeah.
And it's barely explained. It's just a thing of Final Fantasy. So you just kind of go with it, but it's so discombobulating to be like, wait,
I
this is
think
normal.
with if you want a good example of speech stuff, I'm not sure it's up on video on demand anymore, but I'm just gonna reference to a LARP show that both PJ and I been on called Blank Slate. We have in that game we have a race of artificial beings called the Articulated.
Yeah, and they kind of function like techno-organic golems. And I think
Mm-hmm.
Maynard in the chat did say it best. I think you'd have more success flavoring them as flesh mech golems, depending on how your kind of android was. Now, then again, you are free to play however you want to play. If you want to do
Yeah.
that Final Fantasy twist where all of a sudden you go from this deep fantasy world, and there's this like little niche of hypertech. As long as no one's asking questions, everyone's down to clown. It's a good time.
Um,
Um,
like I said before, if you get the chance, there are some Magic the Gathering paperback novels,
mhm.
especially the Urza Saga with Karn. That would be kind of a good example of how to dialogue a fantasy set android, basically.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, it's absolutely possible, and depending on your settings, downright plausible. Are there androids in New Jack City? Maybe, but New Jack City's entire shtick is that they were forced into hyper tech because they had to reject magic, and even then, I've placed them into the area of like kind of turn of the century magic, like 1900s to 1940s. Um, Science, not magic. But anyway, we're digressing. Maynard asked if there's a ancestry like the Warforged. Not yet. However, the android may fill the gap until there is. So we'll read and see what happens. Let me get to the crunchy stuff really fast. You're going to have 8 hit points, size medium, 25 speed. Your ability boosts are Dex and Intelligence, and 1 free of your choice. Ability flaw is Charisma, like they said. You're not very charismatic with people. You speak Common, Androthan, being the language of the androids, an additional language equal to your intelligence modifier if positive. Choose from Abyssal, Celestial, Draconic, Dwarven, Undercommon, Utopian, interesting, and any other language which you have access to, which may be prevalent to your region. You have low light vision, which also ignores the concealed condition due to low light. You have the constructed trait, which gives you +1 bonus to saving throws against diseases, poisons, and radiation. So now we're dealing with a very specific campaign if you're meant to be resistant to radiation.
Yeah.
And you also have emotionally unaware. Last one for the ancestry. You take a -1 penalty to diplomacy and performance checks and on perception checks to sense motive. Because what are emotions? So this class is very interesting because out the gate, you're going to get some nice bonuses, but you're going to suffer socially. So if you really want to like put yourself into hard mode, play an android bard and see what happens, you jukebox
Yeah.
hero.
I mean, once again, perfect example is both Karn and Data from Star Trek Next Generation. Let's see. Oh, Maynard posted, steampunk androids are definitely a thing, i.e. the Sand Ninja from Hellboy. I wouldn't say he's really an android. He's more of an actual person who kind of want to say more of a cyborg, not a totally artificial being.
I could see the sand cyborg because there is a massive chunk of his body that is automated, and he has to use that clockwork to keep his body going.
But he was still a human in the beginning, so he knew all that stuff already beforehand.
True. Yeah. Oh, that's right, because he was one of the officers. And Mr. Mayhara, good to see Mr. Mayhara, says, I'll be a -1 penalty for you, PJ. Thank you, Mr. Mayhara.
And
Thank
Leigh
you.
Arterwell posted, I did a paper ages ago in film school about artificial or AI characters in film and TV. There is such a wider range than many people often think of.
Yeah.
Very, very true.
Oh God, I don't want to lose topic, but there was this one 1980 sitcom with like a little girl who was an android,
Oh yeah, Small
and
Wonders.
yeah,
I
oh, that's
love
the
that
one.
show as a kid.
It was so adorable. It was like Punky Brewster, but like on batteries. All right. Do you want to start off, or should I start off with the heritages?
I'll kick off the heritages with Artisan Android. Your body was originally designed to create works of art, complex tools, or maintain advanced machinery. You become trained in crafting or another skill if you're already trained in crafting, and you gain the specialty crafting skill fee in a specialty of your choice, which is basically your hyper focus in one of the crafting skills. Like if you're like you can pick anything from alchemy to blacksmithing to bookmaking, leather making, masonry, woodworking. You just basically get a hyper bonus to that specialized crafting on top of all the crafting stuff you already have.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense too, because like crafting is based off of intelligence. You get a bonus to intelligence for the class or the ancestry. So you really get to dive into the seldom seen crafting builds.
Yeah.
Um,
I really want to say the Artisan Android is just giving me major Ghibli vibes.
I get, yeah, big time. Impersonator Android. This should be fun. Your
Mhm.
body was augmented with processes and an appearance intended to blend in with humans more easily. You become trained in deception, or another skill if you're already trained in deception because of background or class. You don't require a disguise kit when attempting deception checks to impersonate a human. In addition, you gain a +4 circumstance bonus to impersonate checks to pretend that you are a human version of yourself rather than an android. This bonus doesn't apply to other checks to impersonate humans. So basically, this is kind of weird. This is great because you can have a fun time role playing the lie of I am not robot. But if you're not trying to lie about being a robot, then this doesn't really land.
Yeah, and also sample time. Because we got a lot of examples in this episode. Basically, in Transformers 2, the Decepticon girl that goes into Sam Witwicky's dorm room.
Yep. Absolutely. Um, by the way, I'm seeing in the chat, Mr. Mayahara says, you guys are making it really hard to not buy the P2E core rulebook. Ugh, buy it. Do
Yes.
it. Join us.
All right. Next up, we have the Laborer Android. Your body is adapted to endure physical hardships or perform hard labor for long periods of time. You become trained in athletics or another skill if you're already trained in athletics, and you gain the Hefty Hauler skill fee, which you basically increase your maximum encumber bulk by limits of 2,
Yeah.
which you carry more stuff, which is always great.
So, if you want to roleplay season the means of production and having the lower class uprising that we all feel is going to happen, this is how you flag post that. You really get a laborer android, and now I guarantee you, because it's so hard not to, you're
Yeah.
basically doing communist RP the whole time.
And once again, major Ghibli vibes from this one as well.
Definitely.
God, what were they called? I think they were on. I want to say House Moving Castle, but it could be the other one. Those City in the Sky, City in the Sky. Those
Hmm.
golems with the floppy arms.
Yeah, I can also see if anyone knows the OG, not the OOG Superman cartoons like in the 40s and 50s, but the one in like the 90s with Sam Daly. They had very early on an episode where what is it? They find a Kryptonian golem
Oh
who is
yeah.
solar powered, and since what was it? There wasn't enough red sunlight. He was going around just stealing power from power plants, and Superman had to like basically beat up an undefeatable golem by freezing him to death.
Mhm.
Like crazy episode, but he's seizing the means of
Yeah.
his own production.
Maynard posted encumbrance is obsolete. Can't change my mind.
You know what? I agree 1,000% with you, Maynard. And the reason for that is it puts a level of limitation that is what's what I'm looking for. It's too inundated.
Yeah.
Like it just gets in the way of so much.
I mean, I don't, as a GM, I usually don't let it come into play unless you do something really, real, like, unbelievable. Like, I'm gonna stick a anvil in my backpack and wander around. No, that just does not make sense. But honestly, I don't care how many potions of healing you have in your bag, but you're not sticking an entire anvil in your backpack and just walking around.
Exactly. And like right now, it's a means to an end. Right now, bulk and all its lifting is just there to give the GM a reason to tell a player that is crazy and doesn't make sense, and I'm not going to allow it.
Mhm.
But it does bog things down. Like, okay, I'm wearing heavy armor, I have a shield, and I have a spear, and I have like my other medical equipment in my back. Am I allowed to carry this thing? I'm not. Can someone pick this thing up for me? Apparently, I can't pick up one more thing. And it's not, that's not
Yeah.
fun.
But what about the whole anvil in a backpack thing?
Yeah, but see, exactly. That's what that's there for. Because saying I'm going to carry a whole anvil in my backpack is ridiculous. And these rules only exist to have moments where someone's like, I want to put the whole anvil in my backpack. And you're like, can you make an athletics check high enough? You can? Okay. Do you have enough strength to constantly carry this like 75 to like 275-pound hunk of metal? Do you even have the bulk in your backpack for it? All of this is basically saying, dear player, stop.
Yeah.
Please stop.
Mr. Mayhara posted, legit, does the Android have any weather or temperature resistances? We don't know yet. We might learn that they do in Feats, which we are going to be moving into soon. He also posted C3PO. Yeah, the Artisan heritage.
The artisan, maybe,
Yeah, artisan.
although I don't know. Would you say C3PO is charismatic or just good at language?
I would say, you know what? More impersonator now I think about it. More impersonator maybe. But I would say he's more of a translator droid. Translates languages mostly.
Yeah, so I think maybe artisan, but maybe ooh, this is what he is. The polyglot android.
Ooh.
You are programmed with a multiple linguistic proficiencies, likely to act as a translator. Ask and you
There
shall
you go.
receive. You learn 2 new languages chosen from common languages and any uncommon languages that you have access to. These languages take the same form, signed or spoken, as your other languages. If you select the multilingual feat, you can learn 3 new languages instead of 2.
Yeah,
Holy
this is
nuts.
C3PO.
Yep. Fluent in over 10,000 forms of fantasy speech.
Honestly, there's even a linguistic archetype where you can even learn even more languages. So you can literally make C3PO.
I have a friend who's got like a master's in linguistics, and I feel like if they ever did a campaign and just flexed all the study of language they've ever done, that is the only time to be like, I hardcore built into language.
Yeah, you can also make it so they're also a rune sorcerer or something like that. The magic of names and symbols.
You know, that could be cool. I think, sadly, that class variant is limited because they kind of hand you all the things you would need to be good at that, even though it's still kind of limited to just like the powers. But my God, it'd be so much fun to be like, the more languages you know, the more spells you can do, the more powers you can summon.
Yeah, definitely a wizard right there. But anyway, next up we have, because I know earlier in chat someone saying that hey, let's get some DBZ love in here. This is your warrior android. Your body was originally created to function as a security officer or soldier. You're a naturally gifted warrior programmed for combat, and you're trained in all simple and martial weapons.
That's right, and I believe that includes different brawling weapons. So
Yeah.
you could pull out your best impression of Android 17. Wait, hold on.
Android 17 and 18.
Well, if you go with the full game, you got 17, 18, 19, 20, 16. You also have 8 and 13 and 15 from the movies, and 8 from DB original. That's all I can remember.
Yeah. But honestly though, I kind of want to say, of all the heritages, this is kind of the most lackluster of them all.
Now, that being said, this is a primary or full ancestry, so you are free to load this bad boy up with versatile heritages. Imagine, if you will, a fiendish android, a robot person who's infused with the powers of the 9 hells, and now you have a tiefling android running around. Or conversely, a celestial robot.
Mm-hmm. Basically, I kind of want to say your what is it? Yeah, this is when you're moving into more of the fantasy androids, like the golems and the articulated, so to speak, the clockwork beings. Because also there is another versatile heritage that I believe we're going to be talking about soon called the Genie Kin.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about that because in the other tabletop system, that's one of my favorite races.
I do love the Genie Kin there, basically. I also love the idea that because this is a solid ancestry, you can do things like make a celestial robot person. Just
Hmm.
the idea that there's angels in the, well, in our world we call it the Seven Glories. There's angels in the Seven Glories just putting together a robot person going, heh, heh, I'm making a person, and then that's you.
And also, Mr. Miyahara also posted 17 and 18 are cyborgs and originally humans named Lapis and Lazuli. Yeah. Speaking of which, the crystal gems from Steven Universe could be androids.
Absolutely. And you could even put something in there about a variant that makes sense. Like, because I want to say they're like the super powered, super good Samar. So it's like the celestial ones,
Yeah,
maybe?
like literally, the golems in Jewish stories.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even better. But speaking of that, so now we've talked about what it means to be one and the heritages of like how you are physically made. Let's talk about the feats on how you can build your own android uh, person.
Hmm.
Starting with the Android lore. Basically, you get crafting and thievery. If you already have those, then you get one skill feat of your one skill focus of your choice, and you get Android lore. Now, again, in theory, this is really awesome because niche lores are dope. If you wanted to not be an Android, you could still pick this up whenever you wanted to, but you have to burn something that you could get instead. So getting it for free, always a good choice.
Yeah. Next up, we have the cleansing subroutine, level 1 feat. Your nanites help purge your body of harmful chemicals and toxins. Each time you succeed at a fortitude save against ongoing poison, you reduce its stage by 2 or by 1 against a variant poison. Each critical success you achieve against an ongoing poison reduces the stage by 3 or by 2 against a variant poison. So yeah, it's very much like the Fleshwarp, where you are really good against, you're tough against poisons and sicknesses and stuff.
Yeah, and it's interesting because that also confirms that they are organic enough that they can be affected by things like disease and poison. So remember that when you're playing as a GM or as a player with this ancestry. Next up, emotionless, another level 1 feat to consider. Your malfunctioning emotional processors make it difficult for you to feel strong emotions. You get a +1 bonus to saving throws against emotion and fear effects. If you roll a success on a saving throw against an emotion or fear effect, you get a critical success instead. So bards aren't going to like you at all. They're going to be
Hmm.
like, why can't I like manipulate you? And the robot's like, why would you want to manipulate me? I have a hand. And the
Yeah,
bard's like, oh, I don't like this guy.
this is basically the data subroutine.
Yeah,
All
it's
right,
fun.
yeah. Next up, we have internal compartment, level 1 feat. You can hide a small object up to a light bulk inside a hollow cavity in one of your forearms. It takes 3 interact actions to store an object this way. You gain a +4 circumstance bonus to DC checks for others to seek or steal objects stored inside your arm. If you store a weapon in your arm, you can use a single action to interact to draw the weapon into your hand corresponding to your internal cavity and then strike with the weapon. So basically you have a little shelf in your arm. But now this sparks an interesting thing. This sparks what I call the rocket raccoon uh, question. What if they steal your arm? I'm gonna need that
I want
arm.
that guy's arm. Well, so here's what's interesting about that. This is a clear bridge to Starfinder because this is an ability that the Android ancestry in Starfinder actually have. So number one, that's also a thing. Two, it's cool because like yeah, you get to store a weapon in you as a rogue. You get to store an item. I kind of like the idea that you have like a chest compartment and someone shoves something in that's too big and the chest compartment is just a little open. Um, so those two things come to mind. And yeah, you can absolutely do like I want that guy's arm, but you're still organic, so they still have to sever it from your body.
I'm now just envisioning a a butt drawer Literally
mean,
pulling something out of your ass.
discretion is the better part of valor, but yeah, like it doesn't say where it has to be, so put it wherever. Next up, Nanite Surge. First level feat. There's a lot of first level feats for these guys, by the way.
Yeah.
It's a reaction. You can do it once per hour. You attempt a skill check requiring 3 actions or fewer. So basically a skill action that you can accomplish, not a downtime action. You stimulate your nanites, forcing your body to temporarily increase its efficiency. You get a +2 bonus to the skill check, triggering this ability. In addition, your circuitry glows, lighting to a 10-foot emanation with dim light for 1 round. So, let's say you're with a bunch of humans who don't have dark vision, and you're trying to pick a lock in a dungeon. You're now a 10-foot in each direction glow light, and you get a +2 to pick the lock. Not bad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, granted, if you're not doing that, it does kind of suck because you're trying to pick a lock in someone's house. Now you glow like the sun.
Yeah. Next up, we have, well, Night Vision Adaptation. Level 1 feat. The nanites in your ocular processors have adapted to darkness, enhancing your ability to see in the dark. You gain Dark Vision!
I told you, every time there's a low light to start, there's a dark vision around the corner.
Exactly.
All right, next up, Proximity Alert. You get a +2 bonus to perception checks made, let me start over again. Sorry, words and brains are connecting. Basically, you get a +2 to perception when you're rolling for initiative. In Pathfinder 2nd Edition, you can roll initiative on many different skill checks depending on what you're doing at the time of or to get into combat. But if you have not done anything in particular, the flat roll for initiative is your perception check, which, thank God, in this edition, everyone is proficient in. This is just a straight-up +2 to your initiative.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
All right. Next up, we have Radiant Circuitry. It's a 1-action, level 1 feat. Your biological circuitry emits light like a torch, casting a bright light in a 20-foot radius and dim light for the next 20 feet. The light shuts off when you take this action again or are knocked unconscious. So this is great if you just don't want to carry around torches, or honestly you're in a party full of other humans and they don't have night vision, so you're like, I am the light.
It's a cool free light spell. And it's physical, so you can, like, my hand is glowing, my face is glowing. You can really have fun role-playing where this light is coming from and how it's affected. Next up, I think now we're just starting the 5th level feats with Advanced Targeting System, which sounds very cool. Your ocular processors are augmented with advanced targeting systems, drop my pen, which allow you to more easily pinpoint your enemy and read their movements. Hold on. Okay. This feat allows you to cast True Strike once per day as a first level arcane innate spell. You get True Strike for free once per day.
I kind of want to say, thing is, with True Strike in Pathfinder is actually a decent spell.
Here's the big difference. So, in the other system, you basically waste your turn casting True Strike because you don't get it until the next turn, or maybe you give a bonus action to attack again, right? With Pathfinder 2nd Edition, you get 3 actions every round. True Strike, I believe, is only a 1-action. Yeah, it is a 1-action spell. So you cast True Strike for 1 action. Then your next attack is basically you roll twice, take the higher number.
Yeah.
So you can do that for free once per day as this android.
You could burn your first action to do like a regular attack with no penalties, and then use your second action to cast True Strike for your third action to be an attack with with a better chance of actually hitting with the penalty.
Yeah. And the fact that you're getting it for free is great for economy.
Yeah.
If you're not a wizard and you can't cast it, you get it for free. As a rogue, think about that with your backstab, with your sneak attack. As a barbarian, my God.
Yeah. Maynard actually has some things to say about it. First, the light spell, it's limited use on how expensive it seems to be. And also for True Strike, True Strike isn't that great. True. Okay, it's better than I thought. It's just still a daily.
Yeah, it's still a daily, but I think the thing you have to remember again is that it's a one action cost that you can use if you're not a magic caster. And usually the way you're circumventing not being able to cast magic is having disgusting attacks. If you are a rogue doing a sneak attack and you, just to be safe, you pop your True Strike early, you can now potentially crit or dirty crit a sneak attack. And we all know that means stupid amounts of dice.
Yeah.
Just stupid amount.
Especially if you have some talismans on your weapon, like a Murderous Knot.
I love Murderer's Knot.
Yeah.
Oh
All
my
right.
god. Anyway, moving on. I'm going to get
Yeah.
into it.
Next up, we have, well, once again, Fey Influence. I just want to say really quick, we discussed this before, but the idea of a Fey nature-built android is kind of a cool idea. That's actually kind of cool.
That is interesting. It reminds me of something from 4th edition, but I'll get into that
Yeah,
later.
like, honestly, ooh, you could be a android Groot.
Well, it's funny you mention it because, like, in 4th edition, what they did was they broke down classes by their role and their power source, right?
Mhm.
So, like, if you were a druid, your power source was nature or primal, if you will, and your role for a druid was a controller. Basically, your job was to do AoE spells and crowd control effects. But there was a tank, a nature tank called the Warden. And the whole point of them, they were super cool. It's actually kind of disappointing they haven't come back, is they summon different spirits of nature to buff them to crazy different degrees. And they go around these spirits just beating ass left and right. So I made a Warforged Warden who was basically a robot of nature who lost all of his memories. They jokingly called him Johnny Five because he was still alive. And I made him the Warden of Souls. So, like, the souls he pulled from nature, he also used as, like, a personal jail to take the souls of, like, bad people.
Mhm.
So you could really recreate this with, like, a Warden, Fey, barbarian fighter or whatever.
Yeah. Real quick, Lost Thought posted Dice Explosion. Yep. And also Maynard posted, I'm just putting this up against all the potential feats I could take instead that give permanent passive bonuses instead of something I can only use once. That's very fair.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And while it is good, doesn't have to be the choice you make.
Yeah.
Every choice
And
is good.
Lost Thought also posted, or make a one-off dagger that shatters in the target. Oh yeah, no, I've made an item like this in my homebrew world, and it is sickening. The lower lesser versions, they're all right, but when you get to the greater versions, which when they explode, they're basically, let's just say, radiated shards that's still left in your body.
Ugh. It's like the shark tooth spears from the Maori. They stab you, and then you get a bunch of shark teeth stuck in your body. Ugh.
Maynard also posted, I'm pretty sure there were one-time use consumable daggers in liquid form in Pathfinder 1 that did that.
Probably. If not, you could easily make it.
Yeah. But anyway, moving on to the next level 5 feat is called Inoculation Subroutine. Your nanites reject disease with ease. Each time you succeed at a Fortitude save against an ongoing disease, you reduce its stage by 2 or by 1 against a variant disease. Each critical success you achieve against an ongoing disease reduces its stage by 3 or by 2 against a variant disease. Yeah, this is another one of those feats that kind of a lot like Fleshwarp. You're resistant to biological damage.
Yeah, which is also important because it means you're still organic. So remember that. Speaking of the nanites inside you, here's some nanites outside you. Nanite Shroud. 2 actions. Your nanites fly out of your body and swarm around you in a cloud. You become concealed for a number of rounds equal to half your level. You can't use this concealment to hide or sneak as normal for concealment that makes your position obvious. While Nanite Shroud is active, you can't use other abilities that require you to use. So basically, this Nanite Shroud is there to give you a small bonus to AC, but you can't do anything else. So it's a good getaway tactic.
Mm-hmm.
Could be good, kind of cool, but maybe not what you want for your 5-level feat.
Yeah. Next up, we have internal Respirator. It's level 9 feet. We are in the level 9 feats now. Your body can internally synthesize oxygen for limited periods of time. When you hold your breath, you can do so for an additional hour due to your internal air reservoirs. At the end of this hour, your air reservoirs are expanded. Refilling your empty air reservoirs takes 10 minutes of exposure to breathable air. So this means, as an android, as a synthetic being, you still need to breathe.
Yeah. It does confirm you need to breathe. Remember, you're organic, so if you're going to have a disease, it would usually attack your respiratory system, your nervous system, or another one of your major systems, which means that you'd have to breathe and you'd have to eat.
Yeah.
Which is odd, because I don't believe the Fleshwarps have to breathe and eat.
Yeah, which makes me go kind of, huh.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would give the android the not needing to eat or breathe ability over the Fleshwarps. But that's just
I
me.
would too. Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
Oh well. Maybe there's something down the road. Who knows? Offensive subroutine. This is level 9 feet and requires the Nanite Surge ability. Nanites augment your attacks. You can choose to activate Nanite Surge when you attempt an attack roll instead of when you attempt a skill check, the one that makes you glow. If you do so, you get a +1 bonus to the attack roll. So it's nice. It's a +1 action to activate to get a +1 to hit. If I'm reading that right. Yeah, I mean, for level 9, it may be a little weird, but it's, bonuses stack on bonuses. So if you absolutely need to get that huge bonus, couldn't hurt.
Yeah, it's situational.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, next up we have Repair Module. It's a 1 action ability, frequency once per day. You trigger your body's repair programming, causing your body's nanites to heal your wounds. You gain fast healing equal to half your level for 1 minute while Repair Module is active. You can't use other abilities that require the use of your nanites. So basically you heal fast. It's kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? It takes a load off of your healer, basically, for at least a round.
And that's not nothing. At level 9, when you get the feat, that's healing you about 5 HP a turn, which for a minute means you're healing about 30 HP all by yourself.
Yeah, it's essentially, regeneration, kind of.
Yeah. Oh, Reef Psyche, welcome to the chat. Yeah, we are dealing with the Android Ancestry, and they love them. They're nanites. Speaking of which, I need to make a quick correction on myself. In the offensive subroutine, I said that it's 1 action. It's actually a reaction. So it's a little better. If you don't plan on doing an attack of opportunity or anything else that would cause the use for a reaction, you can instead give up your reaction to do a +1 to hit. It's not a lot, but what it is handy because it lets you still have your 3 action economy. Consistent Surge. This is another thing that requires the Nanite Surge, and it's the first of the 213 feats.
Your capstones.
Yes, these are your 2 capstones for your ancestry. You can use Nanite Surge with a frequency of once per 10 minutes rather than once per hour. So that's not bad. This basically means that +1 to damage or +1 to hit we've talked about can now basically happen almost every combat. If you get a 10-minute break in between to refocus your focus points, that's pretty nifty.
Not too shabby at all. But honestly, I like the next feat because I think this is one of the big reasons why you would take the Android Ancestry Revivalification Protocol. It's a free action once per day, and the trigger is you have the dying condition and are about to attempt a recovery check. Your nanites are programmed to automatically revive you. You're restored to 1 hit point, lose the dying and unconscious conditions, and can act normally on this turn. You gain or increase the wounded condition as normal when losing the dying condition this way. So, yeah, you get a 1-up once per day.
Yeah, it's not bad. The fact that it's a free action is great. Especially because like recovery checks are weird in Pathfinder Second Edition because dying is such a long process that can be circumvented by a healer. But they've kind of taken the idea of rolling to get you back on your feet, and I believe it's a flat check. So
Yeah.
it's not like a bonus to it. It's just a roll of d20, 10 up, you're alive. 9 down, you just go to the dying 2 stage, dying 3 stage, so forth and so on until you're dead, which happens at dying 4 or dying 5, depending on your feats. So the fact that you can hold on to this, for like your last, either your first time going down or the last time going down to make sure, nope, I need to get up. So yeah, that's really good, not going to lie.
Yeah, and also what's kind of cool about this feat is it's not part of a feat tree at all. So you don't have to take anything else beforehand.
Absolutely. So if you want to be an android and you want to give your healer and use your time, or you are the healer, pick that up at level 13.
Yeah. Reef Psyche posted the number of 2B and 9S characters are coming to blot out the sun.
Yep, all day time. There's going to be so many like, hi, my name is like 1A, and I'm the greatest replicant ever built. And that's anyone.
Right,
That's
and
a
that
receipt.
was the 2 more of the many new ancestries that Paizo gave us, the Lost Omens Ancestry Guide. Please go check it out if you like what we talked about today. And also feel free to jump in the comment section, get in the comments and let us know what you think about these. Android was super cool. The Fleshwarp was just amazing. But without further ado, let us say goodbye to you. Starting with my man, Mr. Michael Powell. Mr. Michael Powell, tell them where they can find you on that sweet, sweet internet.
Well, I am Michael Powell, and you can find me all over the internet on my social media, which is at Mr. Kapow, that's MrKapao, or my Facebook page, facebook.com/Michael Powell Does Stuff, because I do a lot of stuff, such as my YouTube channel called Fantastic Tales of Adventure. Recently, we started a new video called Anticipated TTRPGs of 2021, and throughout the year, I will be posting more videos because there's a lot of really cool stuff coming out. And on Thursdays, on the Toyzilla Network, at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I'm part of a show called Toyzilla Live, where we talk about toy news and nostalgia. How about you?
Well, you guys know me. I am PJ McGaw. You can find me all over the internet at pj.mcgaw, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Come find me. Let's have a great time. When I'm not here Tuesdays, 3:30 to 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard with my man, Mr. Michael Powell, you can find me here Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for our homebrew Pathfinder 2nd Edition show with a whole world Pantheon magic. So everything's so cool. We made it up ourselves from the Paizo stuff called Edge of Legend. The heroes are about to take out or try to take out one of the evil generals working for the big bad evil guy on a boat. Could be super cool. Come check it out. 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I may have some surprises in May. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I'll let you know when I know. So until then, see you guys same Nat time, same Nat channel here at the table. Be safe.
Bye.
Bye.